Hey, everybody. I'm excited to be here with yet another guest who is doing great things and making the good life more good. This is How to Speak Nebraskan. I'm excited to be here with Stacy Dam today. Stacy and her husband own a business together called Set Your Sights, where their mission is to simplify visitor access to the outdoors. So they're trying to help people get outdoors and enjoy nature and go camping and all sorts of good things. So her background is in higher education, which is where I met her many years ago when we were graduate assistants together at the same time at UNL. And we worked together for just a few short months before she pieced out and got a full-time job. And I'm excited to learn about her journey now and how her and her husband have started this business and how it may benefit so many people who just need to get outside a little bit more. And I think we could all probably stand to get outside just a little bit more. And so happy to have her here. I'd like to officially welcome Stacy. So, Stacy, how are you?
Hey Jeff, it's so good to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was, you and I, it's been a little while. I was thinking to myself, we met a while ago. I was like, wow, it's like, we haven't worked super close together, but like probably it's over a decade ago. It was like 11 or 12 years ago that you and I met, which is hard to believe.
Mhm.
Time is crazy. I was racking my brain trying to remember this. We were in, this is a weird question for me to ask you. Did we share an office?
We didn't actually. I was just over in your office all the time with the rest of the grad students. So
That's what I
I was
thought.
relegated to like the master's office, which was much smaller, and there was just two of us where chairs would like bump up next to each other. So if anybody actually wanted to meet like two or three people, they were across the hallway in your guys' office.
Right. Okay. That's what it was. I was thinking you might have been down the hallway, but we all the grad assistants came and went at different times. And yeah, there was like I
Yeah.
think five or six of us. And I was like, did Stacy have a desk in there or was she down the hallway and just stopped in periodically? I'm like, I honestly couldn't even remember. And so then you were you there for like that whole fall semester and left because you got a job, right?
Yeah, so I was there, started the program in 2012, and then left in December of 2013 because I got a job at the J School. So I became an academic advisor at the College of Journalism, and
Oh, I forgot you
that was
worked at the
my
College of
first.
Journalism.
Yeah, that was my first go at student affairs, my first big kid job after grad school. It was awesome.
Really? I did not remember that's where you went. So how long were you at the J School at journalism before you went over to Bryan College of Health Sciences?
Yeah, so then I did a little skip over to grad studies. So shout out
Oh,
to
okay,
grad
gotcha.
studies as well. And then left grad studies after doing some traveling recruitment there over to Bryan College of Health Sciences in January of 2017.
Okay. And you were like director of
Yeah.
admissions there, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so I started there as director of admissions and then um, kept adding some responsibilities and had marketing, enrollment, admissions, added IT. And so I became dean of enrollment and IT systems management before I left there.
Okay. Wow, that's crazy. So do you remember that several years ago, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago, how I taught some summer classes at Bryan? It was an evening class for 3 summers in a row. I taught an intro to stats class. Do you remember that?
So it's so funny. I don't know if you know this or not, but I was in like the faculty lounge where all of our little boxes were. And that's how I found out. I saw your last name on one of the file folders. And I was like, what? That's how
Yeah.
I found out that you were teaching in the adjunct like file folder mailbox. And I was like, I know Jeff.
Yeah, I know. See, that's what's funny is I only ever came over there in the evenings, and so I would if I went into the office briefly, I would see your like nameplate on your door, but of course you were never there because most people were gone at that point. And I was always like, I kind of just want to say hi to Stacy and just see how it's going, but like I never actually saw you. I just would see your name when I stopped in. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's so crazy how worlds collide like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So, yeah, Brian was a great place to be, great population of students, amazing dedicated staff, like just incredible people. I spent 5 years there and really, really loved what I did. And then things kind of changed for me in September of 2021, but we can just like hold on that part.
Explore.
we can
Well,
hold
that's kind of what I was
on.
gonna get to. So we did that, and so you worked there, and then and you have a little bit of this on your website, Set Your Sights. You know, I was kind of reading through the your bio a little and a little bit. So what how did this all come about? How did the business come about, and what where did the transition come in? Like what is it? First off, let's talk about what this is. What is Set Your Sights?
Yeah, so Set Your Sights is all about helping people access the outdoors better. We should be able to show up to our public lands and pay easily, efficiently, and know if these spots are available. And that's what we're trying to do. Because right now, in a lot of places, you have to figure out how to pay. Every place is different. Just trying to help people get out more because there's less hassle. And we're just kind of taking that hassle away, is the long story short of it.
So that is a good idea, and it's funny because you're right. Anything that regards, I don't even know how to describe this. I don't know, like when you think of like either it could be government or private lands, but you know, you do think there's all these kind of old school methods that we still people haven't adapted in some ways. And it sounds like you're just trying to help certain folks out there adapt as they probably should, like the rest of the world is adapting. Is that kind of right?
Yeah. Yeah. We shouldn't have to show up and figure out how to pay. We shouldn't have to drop our money into a metal box and hope it gets to its final destination. Having little golf pencils and envelopes is just not helpful. And
Right.
so we just created a little more convenient system for people to be able to show up and start enjoying because we want to create experiences that people actually want to remember instead of like, you will not believe what I had to go through to go camping this weekend. Like, that's not what we
Right.
should be talking about when we go camping, is how frustrated and annoyed and just like adding to the anxiety when we're trying to go and relax in the outdoors. So,
You're right. Well, I know we talk about, you know, I work, I still, you know, I've been working at UNL for many years and we have a lot of events there. And one of the first things I always say is we gotta make sure that that parking is clear, right? Like, so it's kind of like, yeah, when you show up, when you get there, you can focus so much. Maybe we might focus a lot on the event itself, but I'm like, but if the parking is a really bad experience, something that seems so simple, that can ruin a person's day.
yes,
Yeah,
totally. It's exactly that reminds me of grad school. It's just like takes me back to that same idea. What is the name of the research where we had to do the report was like Bronfenbrenner or but it's campus ecology essentially. Like where chairs are placed is important to create a communal space for people to talk to each other. If we don't put chairs in a right way, then people can't talk and they're not going to engage and then be retained.
right.
Do you
I
remember
don't
what?
know. I don't remember, but it sounds lovely.
Okay. I loved campus ecology because I was like, it's same like parking. If people will find ways, we want to find ways to not engage. Like any excuse we can have just to, maybe stick to ourselves or whatever that might be. So if we can clear those things for people to give no excuses to go and do the thing, have fun, show up, whatever it is. Yeah, same idea. I found that for what I did as dean of enrollment, filling classrooms and filling campgrounds, it's actually really similar. It's kind of funny.
That is interesting. So what gave you this idea to work with campgrounds to do something like this?
So we were the quintessential COVID campers. In 2020, we have
Nice.
at the time like a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I became like adjunct kindergarten teacher,
Right.
during COVID, which
Yep.
no one would hire me to do.
Right. Yep, I hear you. I know. It's a lot.
When I think back, I'm like, yeah, wow. All
I
those years
know.
just blend together. But we thought, well, this is our time, I guess. Let's be outside. Tent camping's great, but with 2 kids, one potty training, it's like that's not probably going to happen as often as we'd want to. And so we found a great camper, and we just started going camping and finding places. The state campgrounds were shut down at the time. And so
Oh,
the natural resource districts, if you're familiar with the natural resource districts, like Lake Wanahoo is amazing, Checkland, um, Iron Horse, there's these really cool small campgrounds, Great Lakes with the natural resource districts. that were still open. And
Okay.
so we found Lake Wanahoo was the first place we went camping, and had an amazing time, and then just really fell in love with it. But then fast forward to our son's birthday. He wanted to be a specific campground. You know, kids don't tell you 6 to 12 months in advance what they want to do for their birthday. Like, and you're also
Right.
not going to plan it that way because they're going to change their mind like 3 days, 3 weeks, whatever in
Right,
advance. So
right,
you don't want to
right,
buy all this stuff because you got to make sure it's the right thing. And so
right.
we didn't have a reservation at this campground, about 30 minutes outside of Lincoln. And so Dustin had to load everything up, and he showed up, and we thought, oh, we'll just pay when we get there. We'll see a site, pay for it. That's what walk up camping is supposed to be. He showed up, and he was told that's not how it works. We'll put your name on a list and we'll draw your name out of a hat,
Okay.
but you have to
So
come back at 2 p.m.
what? So it's like in the morning you're hoping to camp and you're by 2 p.m. you'll find out if you can camp, but they may tell you no.
Yep.
So you're just supposed
Yeah.
to like hang out and do what? Like sit on the side of the road?
If you're from far away, you go and I don't know, hike around for a little bit, come back. This was hours, right? And people had to have all their rigs there and everything. So it's 30 minutes away from the house. So he came back home, worked, went back out at 2 p.m. And the lady comes out, pulls a name out of the hat and says, so and so. Oh, they're not here yet. Let's give them a minute. And the
Oh,
crowd
geez.
just erupts. They're like, no, you're not.
Right.
That's crazy. Move on to the next name. And like, this is how every single weekend is at this campground.
Are
You
you
don't,
serious?
yeah, you do not walk up and say, that's an open spot. I'll pay and take it. No, no. There is a list that gets managed for walk ups.
Okay, okay, this may be an extreme example. This feels like Hunger Games, and they come and they like pull a name out and they're like, such and such, you are allowed in, or
Yeah,
something. So
it's
people
the
would
same
stand
idea.
there. Really, people
Hmm.
stood out there and
Hmm.
waited. I was not.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
And so
wild.
yeah, this is happening. So this was 2021. It's still happening. We're not in that campground with our technology yet. So it's still a thing. So we were like, that's crazy. What is going on? Like, that's what we remember about our son's seventh birthday was how crazy it was, what had to be done to get a campsite at this campground. And so we just kept mulling over, like, what can we do? We've got to figure this out. This is a horrible problem. This is, and that's just when that seed was planted in our minds and we just could not get over it. But we put the idea on the shelf because we had, careers, jobs. Dustin's an electrical engineer and he has been running his own consulting business for a long time and was doing that. And that's great. We just put the idea up on the shelf. And so that was June of 2021 is when the idea started from a very bad experience.
So it was that experience, and then what? June of 21. So then you're going on. What is it like in the back of your mind? Like I want to start this. I want to start this business, maybe, or what?
Yeah, we want to get into camping technology. We want to figure this out. We want to be camping more. We just want to keep trying to solve this problem. But that was just kind of, nights talking, whatever. So then that September. So as you're very familiar with the admissions cycle and process, and it's starting to get into peak recruitment
Gets busy.
season.
Yes.
It gets real busy, lots of late nights, lots of events, all this stuff. And we went camping out at Lake Wanahoo. So the very first campground that we camped at. And I just got on my bike and went on a bike ride by myself. I was like, enjoy this beautiful weather. This is going to be one of my last kind of moments hanging out in nature before it really gets into the thicker recruitment season. And then while I was on my bike, I don't remember what happened. I just woke up in an ambulance.
Oh
And
gosh.
so this was September of 2021. I woke up in an ambulance and come to find out what they think happened is that a deer actually knocked me off my bike. Got hit
Oh
by a deer
really?
riding my bike. Yeah,
Did you have a helmet on by chance? No. Oh
I did
yeah.
not.
Shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not. they're not sure if a helmet would have improved my situation, but what ended up
Okay.
happening is I broke my eye socket, my jaw in two places.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was definitely an experience, fortunately. And so this is why I like to get the word out about this. So everyone, if you have an Apple Watch, if you have some kind of device, make sure emergency notification is set. Make sure you have that emergency person. If you don't know how to do it, please reach out to me. We'll get some contact information. I love talking people through how to make sure this whole thing is set up because my Apple Watch saved my life. I was blacked out on the bike trail and I remembered somehow just to double tap the side button and emergency services was called. I couldn't talk to them. They didn't know where I was. They had to use my GPS location to find me.
Wow. That is crazy. No, you're right. Those emergency services, I fell off my bike a couple years ago. I when we got our dog, or take him on bike rides in our neighborhood. And of course, people now are just like, why did you do that? Of course, hindsight's 2020. I don't know. We had a lot of energy. He's a golden doodle puppy, and I enjoyed it. And we
Oh,
had so much fun. And we went through our neighborhood. I had done it for many months, and we would go. I mean, he just would sprint, and I'd hold it out. And I generally I did a very good job most of the time, where I had a leash around my hand, but I always kept it really loose. And so I just, anytime, which rarely did I have to drop it, but once in a while something would happen, or there would be like he would want to go around this light pole as we're moving, and I just had this like I could just let go, and it would be like all of a sudden like real quick, and I just had this thing where I would drop, he would go around. He never really ran off, and we'd just stop, and then I would pick it up and we'd keep going. It happened a couple times, and it was fine. So I was like, I always told myself just keep the leash loose around my hands. And one day we were getting in kind of in my neighborhood going, and it was a cold day, so I was wearing my coat, and I even had like a hat on and gloves. And this was the one day that I almost didn't wear a helmet. And like last, because I was gonna be real quick, I'm like, oh, I'll just go fast. I'm like, but I had a hat on. It was inconvenient to put the helmet over the hat. I was like, no,
mhm.
I'll just put the helmet on, I guess. So I put it on, and we get to this part where we're gonna go down a hill. So we're starting to like pick up speed, and I'm kind of trying to slow down, and I have on thicker gloves than normal. And this dog, this really aggressive German Shepherd behind this fence barked. And my dog usually ignores other dogs, but this time, no, he needed to run after him. This is the one time I had wrapped that leash around too tight because I was gripping it tight. So I'm going down this hill, right hand on my handlebar, left hand on the leash, and he pulls to my left, and I try to pull him back. And so he pulls again. I hit my brake. I go head over my handlebars. Thankfully, I had this thought flash through my head that I had had before. Whenever I would go under a tree, I would duck my head with my helmet and tell myself, lead with your helmet. Let your helmet hit the tree branch. And as I was like heading toward the cement ground, I was like, my face is getting ready to smash this thing. And I just had this last thought, lead with your helmet. And I tucked like under and I let my helmet hit it. And I just fell, and bike went everywhere, and all that. And it cracked my helmet, and it gave me, and I had to get stitches in my left eyebrow. And it cracked my helmet, but thankfully that's all it did. And I kind of hurt my knee, but it hurt really bad that night and kind of was better the next day. And I was fine. And so I'm just like, my helmet totally saved me right there. But my watch went off. That's what I was actually, the other thing I was going to tell you. My emergency notification went off, and my dad all of a sudden later like calls me. He's like, "Hey, are you?" And my wife had not noticed that her phone had dinged, but my dad had. Apparently, I'd put both of their contact information. I forgot all about that, and he's like, "Are you okay? I got this thing that you're something happened to you." And I was just like, "I'm doing fine." And so yeah, you're right. It's crazy.
Yeah, it totally works. Isn't it so amazing how it just happens so quickly? Something flashes in your mind to tell you, like, to try and preserve yourself. I mean, and
Right.
then to have the watch set up to know. And so Dustin didn't get this is pre-fall notification. And so if I would have, when I fell, Dustin would have been immediately called. I just had the button since it was like 2021, it was just like the side button with the GPS. Well,
Okay.
he at the campground, he was like, gosh, she should be back by now. This is kind of getting late. And so he checked my find a friend and saw my dot wasn't moving. And then he checked again and said, it's still not moving. This is not right. And called me. And I somehow just murmured, I was like, I don't know where I am, and then blacked back out again.
Oh my God. He must have
And
been
so
so scared.
he essentially, like, as the crow flies, he found a place to park and just like ran through fields and barbed wire fences and stuff like that, and had to lock the kids in the car to come find me. And fortunately the ambulance was there, so we didn't have to do anything. I was going to be fine at that point, that they were able to get there before he did. So it's crazy how quickly it can happen. I have no idea exactly what happened, but one bad event turned into okay. And just, I always say shout out to the Wahoo emergency, their volunteer folks. It was a Husker game day. Like there are plenty of people that could have just ignored the
Right.
call. You know, I was completely in some isolated corner of the world, and they did not give up looking for me and took great care of me. And they realized when I was in the ambulance that I was just too, I needed a trauma center, and so they took me straight to Brian,
Oh my gosh.
where I found out what the deal was. And yeah, and so having your jaw wired shut is not something I recommend.
Oh, I bet that
Um,
was terrible. How long was that for?
zero,
How long was your
zero out of
recovery?
5 stars. Yeah.
Zero out of five. I bet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually 8 weeks. I had my
Okay.
jaw wired shut for 8 weeks because my jaw was dislocated. And so like 3 surgeries later, um, yeah, Dr. Henry, we have great physicians in Lincoln. Very fortunate that he was on call that night because he's a maxillofacial dental plastic surgeon. Like he has all of the things that
Oh
I
wow.
needed that night, and he's incredible. I'm very thankful to him and his team, and the folks at Bryan, because yeah, it was a long, 8 to 10 weeks full, and then tried to get things back together again. But that's when I started getting thoughts of, wow, what are we doing?
Right. Right. Exactly. That's true. Because then you're kind of, I mean, I can just imagine how incredibly challenging that recovery must have been. But then you're, aside from the recovering, which is a lot, there is that like now at some point you got to pick your life back up and yeah, am I just going back to work now like normal, like nothing happened a few months later, and I'm gonna just have my kids like did like nothing happened? Like is that kind of what you how you were
That's
feeling?
the thing is like, do we just go back to what we were doing? Dustin's business was picking up like crazy. He was really busy and then kind of got, things slowed down with my recovery and having two small kids. And then you just don't realize, okay, sure, you're looking better, maybe you're feeling better, but then all the stuff that you have to take care of as a family, just being with each other and those missed moments and those kinds of just the mental health aspect. I just needed a lot more time to do that. And I just knew I wasn't going to be able to have that real mental, physical recovery if I didn't slow down for a little bit longer, than what I needed. And so I tried to get back to work full time and just kind of shove everything in the back burner and forget about it. And just life caught up with me in March of 22. I was like, we can't do this anymore. We've got to do a reset. Like this happened for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We got to slow down. We got to kind of reassess and figure out what we want this next chapter of our lives to be.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's I would imagine all sorts of feelings and thoughts as you reflect back on those moments and everything. So
Mhm.
you went through and then you had this big kind of sort of awakening of what do we do now as a family? What are some of my other dreams perhaps that I have? So you get to March of 22. What then? How did you shortly soon after that kind of decide to quit your job and to pursue the business, or what was that step like?
Yeah, it was incredibly hard because I loved my job. I loved student affairs. I thought that I was going to be in a university setting for the rest of my life. Like that was what I was geared up to do. It was incredibly hard to leave, but had to make that choice. And so we decided that I was going to help Dustin with his side of the business and get him set up, organized, do his operations, and then we were going to figure out what happened from there. And so I was helping him and we're helping each other and just kind of get everything back in order. And that idea of set your sights, we still kind of talked about it a little bit, but never still needed more time, to get everything kind of in order and settled in and refocused. And so then in February of 2023 is when I took my first entrepreneurship class. I never thought that I'd be an entrepreneur. My
I
mom's a nurse,
know.
my dad's a business person, like great successful careers. And it's always I just it was that was never on my mind that I couldn't do it. Like I just thought that I would be doing higher ed forever. So yeah, it was a
Yeah.
big transition, a big leap of okay, I think we can maybe figure this out and do what we want to do.
I know. Stacy, you're a CEO. That's so cool. I mean, I don't care, big company, small company, whatever you want to call it. I saw that on the website. I was like, dang, that's cool. Stacy
Mhm.
Dam, CEO. I mean, that just by itself's just gotta feel kind of cool.
It's, it's cool. It's because I wake up every morning to decide what our goals are, our mission, we're building this thing from the ground up. We're small now. What can we be? And that's driven by us and what we decide every single day. And so that's just an incredible feeling. And then to see that secondary effect from our kids and where they're seeing as they're growing up, their Cadence will be 7 at the end of this, at the end of February, and Porter's 10. And so they're like, oh, I I don't know what I want to be, but I can do whatever I want to. I'm going to try out this. And so Cadence actually started a pencil sharpening business at the house. And so she took her pencils and set them out by this little table and put her little sharpener out and put a little sign up of, what the fees are to sharpen a pencil at Cadence's, pencil sharpening shop. And
Nice.
they're just thinking outside the box of like,
Right.
what do I want to do? How am I going to make money? How am I going to make this work? And it doesn't have to be a traditional setting if they don't want to be. It can be if they want to, but they can be their own boss. And it's really cool that they're getting to be a part of the business with us.
How is it being your own boss, Stacy? Pretty
I think
great.
it's pretty great and pretty tough all at the same time because
I bet it
it
is.
sometimes you sit there and you're like, what am I doing right now? Like
I
there's a
bet.
million things I could be doing. Um, I have to decide what the most important thing is long term. You're doing everything. You are the beginning and the end of the business at this stage.
Right.
I'm doing the books and I'm also cleaning up the office and I'm doing,
Yep.
the long-term planning and I'm CFO and I'm secretary and I am all the things
Right.
um, outside of the tech space because Dustin's, the product guy,
That's so great that
doing
you've
that
got
part
him
of
doing
it.
that. Yep.
Yeah. So it's great and also incredibly scary and challenging, but rewarding. I don't have to write my own performance review. I have to live it every single day.
Right, exactly. You're like I'm hard enough on myself that I think I'm fine. I keep myself disciplined
Yeah.
and centered for sure.
Yeah.
So now, okay, how do you go about finding so are you mostly like in Nebraska? Have you reached out to out of state? Like what's sort of this process that you do to kind of build your business?
Yeah. So what we're doing right now is we're focusing in state. There's a lot, and I love talking about how the support that we've received from inside Nebraska for entrepreneurs is incredible. We've had some great funding opportunities with the prototype grant. There's Intern Nebraska grant to help hire interns to help us scale the business. We have STEP grant funding so we can export our product outside of the state internationally, which has allowed me to do some conference travel and get in front of a lot of groups across the country. And so we wanted to build our product here. This is 100% Nebraska born and raised business. Our signs are purchased from Nebraska. It's all Nebraska developers and coders that have hands on our product as well. And so it's really cool that we get to do all of that here because of the
Yeah.
resources from the Department of Economic Development and Business Nebraska Business Development Center and through InMotion, the accelerator that we were accepted into as well, based here in Lincoln. All of that financial support allowed us to stay here and build it, iterate with Lake Wanahoo, which I don't know if I mentioned that part. The first place that we camped at, the place where my accident, like in the city of Wahoo, happened, and then they actually became our first customer.
Oh, really? Okay, gosh, that's just got a special place in your heart,
Yeah, it's
maybe an important
amazing.
place in your heart.
Yeah, definitely lots of stories, right?
Yeah, maybe
Lots of
stories. Maybe that's a better
memories.
way to put it.
Yeah, so they were our first customer, and we've grown with them, and they've been amazing. And we're looking at adding more pins to the Nebraska map here this year. We have a handful of contracts out. We're in conversation with South Dakota, North Dakota, staying Midwest right now, but we're going to apply for Small Business Innovation Research Grant. That's federal grant that'll help us pilot then across the country here in the next year. So yeah, starting
Okay,
small, iterating small, focusing heavily on those public campgrounds, and then continue to grow.
very cool. Okay, so help walk me through this. So, idea, people will show up and it's going to make it more the payment piece is a big piece of it because all these camps right now they still got the boxes out there which definitely I don't know why I always think of like the 80s. This would have been before the 80s and after the 80s, but like you just think about just very old school, like dropping some cash in the envelope and all that where you put the check in. And so now it's kind of that simple like scan on your app, almost like you would like maybe a parking meter downtown. Now it's like that's you're bringing that idea to a campground essentially.
Yeah, absolutely. And the QR codes that we have, which makes us a little unique, is that it's this QR code that's different for each campsite. So that campsite is then removed from inventory instead of a generic QR code for the entire campground that just kind of counts occupancy essentially.
Oh.
What we're doing is unique QR code for every campsite. And we also do day use passes and annual permits and things too. But that way, before you leave home and you want to head out to Lake Oahu, you can check from their website. So we don't have an app at this point. Um, we are a web app, and so we can embed on websites
Okay.
of our customers. And so you can go to Lake Wanahu's website, you can see what the availability is of their walk-up sites, which just doesn't exist. Real-time availability of walk-up campsites doesn't exist. And so that's what we're
Yeah,
really
that's
excited about
crazy.
because essentially it's like, oh, just more res well, then just make them reservations. Why don't you just like 100% reservations? Why do you walk up? Because we should have access to our public lands. We should be able to walk up to these spots and
Right.
snag one if we want one. We shouldn't have to call or get a reservation for you know. That's the adventure. Keep the adventure alive with walk-up sites. And
Right.
we don't want to carry a checkbook around.
Right.
So that's
Or
what we
get your name
started.
put
That was
on a
our first
waiting list
product.
and have to come back in a few hours and then get told no. And then it's
Yeah,
like,
get
what
drawn
am I
out of a
supposed to do
hat.
now? I just like wasted my day and at 2 o'clock in the
Mhm.
afternoon, gosh, you got to be like setting your camp up by that point in the day. That's kind of late in the day to get started. By the time you're getting it started and getting settled and then food, I mean, those next couple hours go by really fast before it's going to be nighttime. So
Yeah, you've got animals and kids and a weekend's worth of food and all of those things that,
yeah.
you don't need one more thing. So yeah, it's the first QR code scan to pay, real-time availability of walk-up sites, and then we launched our reservation system. So we're the only outdoor hospitality management system with walk-up and reservation in one place. Because right now, reservation systems just say walk-ups are unavailable.
Oh, okay.
There's no data behind it. It just says unavailable, which makes you think, what?
That it's full.
Exactly. And so then people aren't going camping because they think the campgrounds are full.
And then if you actually drove there, you'd realize that there's a bunch of empty spaces, is what you're saying.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah. Well, that is great that you're doing that. So when you mention this to, I would imagine that when you approach these campground managers, that some just think it's a great idea and it's real innovative, but you probably have some that don't like change and they're really resistant to it. I mean, what's been what's been kind of the gamut of the types of people you've encountered?
Yeah, it's there are definitely people there's an assumption that no one maybe in the campground community wants to change, that it's just same old, whatever, business as usual. It's a public entity, whatever it might be, just like let's just keep it the same. And that's not the case. Like we've found so much support from people saying, yes, this makes sense. We've been wanting to do it, but we can't do it ourselves. So this is great. And we can onboard quickly. And then there's some that don't want to change, and that's okay. But as entrepreneurs, I think it's the important thing is don't fixate on the one that tells you no or keeps telling you no. Keep
Right.
going. Keep
Yeah.
going. No, 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 yes. That one yes is enough to keep you going, and focus on that part of it. And so that's what we're doing is building this network of the yeses that are giving us that early shot. And then the others will come. It's just being the first couple, that's tough. And so we're just really thankful that we have that support already in Nebraska to stay here and be able to build it close to home because we've got some yeses already.
Yeah. There are certain parts of Nebraska you're really trying to go for. I mean, I guess it's just anyone you're trying to go for, anything like that. I mean, I don't want to ask you to share any of your secrets if you're waiting to hear back, and probably if some of those you're kind of just keeping to yourself until you know, but any that you're kind of hoping like to branch out, kind of the goals around here.
Yeah, so you've heard it here first.
Okay.
We decided to touch base with fairgrounds because we think fairgrounds have campgrounds. And we actually secured the Nebraska State Fair. So we are working with the Nebraska State Fair to manage their campground.
Oh my
And we
gosh.
are super excited.
You must have been so excited to get the state fair. Did you do a happy dance or like what was your like little thing? Because I would have been thrilled if the state fair would have signed up. What was that like?
Yeah, yeah, it was amazing. They're incredible people to work with and for, and to be able to save them time and focus on the things that they want to do and fill that campground full of excited Nebraskans is just, I mean, it's going to be incredible. I'm so excited to go to the state fair, have Set Your Sights be there, and just celebrate this amazing opportunity. It's so cool that they're supporting our Nebraska business, and we in turn get to support them back. It was just amazing. Yeah.
That is
Never thought a
amazing.
year ago that we'd be at this place. Yeah.
How did you think to approach them? Did it just kind of pop in your head? Because I mean, it's not a camping ground; it's different, and so you're just kind of like people camp there. May as well as reach out. Did that just kind of these ideas? I'm sure they come to you at different times, probably.
Yeah, you just do outreach, and I'm from Grand Island, and so I just
Okay.
started making contact with Fauner Park, and they're great people. And they said, the state fair runs our campground for the 2 months that they're there, and I'll put you in contact. And it just takes that person saying yes, talk to them, and it can work out.
Yay. Oh, that is so cool.
Hmm.
You said it here first.
Hmm.
Wow. I tell you what, Stacy, I don't have a lot of like big announcements. We'll just take that. We're gonna take that. I think that's amazing. So that's so cool.
Well, it's
So,
so cool to share it on a Nebraska podcast. So look out for all of you amazing listeners that you're going to be getting an email if you've actually been at the campground during the Nebraska State Fair. You're going to be getting it from Set Your Sights because we are the reservation system for the Nebraska State Fair.
oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to be sharing that far and wide to everybody too. That's amazing. So that's so cool. So now, I mean, what are you gonna? That's funny. Are you just gonna go there and like camp and then work at the same time? It's sort of like you can kind of pay yourself.
It's amazing. I mean, I get to camp for a living now. So we camp host. We have camp host positions in the summer. So we're learning and camp hosting and fishing in cool places. And so we get
What's
to do,
camp hosting? I've never heard that.
oh yeah. Yeah, you get to camp for free and then just help out the campground. So pick up trash and direct guests and
Really?
um camp. Yeah, and your camp spot is paid.
Have you camped a lot throughout your life, or is this more of like a thing you and your husband got into in the last few years? So,
Oh
COVID, like when you say it
yeah.
started at COVID, this
Yeah.
is just since COVID to now that you've gotten into it over the last few years?
Yeah, I did not grow up a camper at all. Like camping to my family was like a Holiday Inn. Like, no, that's
Right.
not, no, it is a hotel and is a hotel with a continental breakfast, and that's how we're going to be outdoors, you know.
Yeah. I gotta okay, Stacey, I gotta be honest. You are inspiring me a little bit. So I am also actually this makes me feel better about myself because I my wife and I've been married for 20 years. And I really am embarrassed to admit that I've never like taken my kids camping before. It's
Oh,
I
that's
just
so
feel bad, you
bad.
know what I mean? And it's like, and I think it's because when we first got married, my wife had grown up camping like in a camper, like one of the little small pop-up ones with her family on all these
Yeah.
trips. And
Hmm.
I had never camped much. I had done a little bit of camping throughout my life. So I was not no expert, but I was not the idea was not foreign to me. But when we got married, I, on a handful of occasions, made these comments like, "We should go camping. We should like go get some supplies." She probably would hate to hear me say that. She was always kind of like a naysayer. She's like, "I don't want to." She usually didn't want to, and I'm if had I pushed harder and really set it up, she would have gone with it. But I was kind of too easy to be like, "Okay, sounds good." So she would say she wasn't really in the mood to go camping. I'm like, "All right, fine." And so now I just feel like this bad father sometimes that I'm like I haven't taken my kids camping much. I mean, I honestly, you know what I did during COVID? I got a tent and then we set it up in our basement. So that was about the extent of our camping that we've done. It's a
That's
start.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
So
have to start somewhere. That's the point.
yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna take this, Stacy, and you know even talking to you right now, I'm gonna okay this I mean here you know summer in a few months
Hmm.
I'm gonna try to do it. I just gotta take a day to well can you give me like a tip to keep it light and easy for me and my family like if I'm gonna do it and like take my kids and my wife and it's kind of out of our comfort zone do you have any like thoughts on like okay just do this to keep it light for the first time what do you recommend, Stacy?
Yes, yes. I recommend only going, just go one night. Because here's
Okay.
the thing. You see people who like, yep, you get excited and then you buy like all this stuff and you're packed to the brim and it becomes very stressful. Keep it light and easy. And it's actually more fun if you don't have the thing, because then you figure out how you're going to get over not having the thing. And then it becomes, maybe like forks or something. Like, who knows? Like, pick your
Right,
thing
right.
that maybe you forget to pack or whatever it is. But don't get bogged down by like the masses of stuff to take and just try it for a
Okay.
night. And then if everybody's good, then just pay for another night.
Right. Yeah.
Just keep the expectations low.
Keep them low.
And then
And if you're miserable, then you wake up in the morning and you can go home.
you can peace out, that's
Right.
what, but that way you haven't gotten a reservation for 4 days and you hate it and whatever. That's why walk-up camping is beautiful because you show up for a day, you pay, and then you can just renew it for the next day and then just keep going if you want to. If it
Yeah.
works, it works. That's great. Don't take a bunch of stuff because people ask, oh my gosh, what do you do with your kids when you're out camping? Don't they get bored? Don't they need, they got rocks, they got sticks, maybe a ball, and we just figure it out. And that's the
Right.
best part is like, what are they going to come up with because they're just outside and bored? I just don't think we let our kids get bored enough. And I kind of get on a
Right.
soapbox with this, but
Yeah.
like, just sit and then like look up at the sky and like see the cloud animals or pick some grass or a dandelion crown or do stuff that you're not going to do if you're hanging out at the house.
Right. Or just like at night, look up at the stars for crying out loud. Right. You know what I mean? Like the sky really is very beautiful if it's a clear night and you're able and you don't have a lot of like lights around you to look up. And yeah, sometimes I'll just tell my kids, I'm like, look up, look at the moon right now. Like if you don't think that looks amazing, then like just then something's wrong with you. And I've been doing it
Yeah.
wrong. So right.
Yeah. Just appreciate the little things. That's what it's all about, is just getting to hang out together as a family and just slowing down for a little bit.
So okay, remind me real quick the name of this first campground you went to because maybe that's what I'll say to my wife. Be like, listen, this is got a lot of sentimental value to Stacy for different
Yeah.
reasons, or or just stories.
Yeah.
Maybe also I'll stick with the stories. What's it called again?
Yeah. So it's Lake Wanahoo. It's in Wahoo. And I would
Okay,
love for you guys to check it out. It's great camping. So if you want to tent camp, they also have small cabins and they have RV parking. The lake is great. They've got a bike trail all the way around the lake. There's hiking, a couple of playgrounds. They've got frisbee golf. It's great kayaking, fishing. Ooh, and they have Pork Chop Island. You can actually camp on a little island in the lake.
really? That's
Hmm.
cool.
It's super
Camp on an
cool.
island.
And so I do
Okay,
want you to go to Lake Wanahoo, of course. I love
Okay.
it. A little bias. I've got the products is there. Check out how Set Your Sights is. You can give a review
Yeah.
and then go somewhere else that doesn't have Set Your Sights
Okay.
and let me know what your experience was.
And share okay, well there you go. Now, I like it. You're kind of like go Jeff, go camping twice.
Yes, exactly.
Start here and
And
then go over
then
here and then
they're going to start
compare.
getting a pattern. You got to go a few times. Don't give up on one.
Yeah.
Go a handful of times and then see.
You know,
Make
I
your make
somebody
you up your
s-
mind.
somebody I knew several years ago went camping with her husband. They didn't have any kids at the time, and she they camped and apparently really enjoyed it. But then what surprised me, the next this is like in the fall, I want to say, maybe in October, it was several years back. A week later, she was like, we're going camping again this weekend." I'm like, really? Like that's cool. They had never camped before. But then they overdid it, like what you're saying. I think they did it one weekend, then they went again and did it 2 nights in a row, 2 weekends in a row. They'd never done it, and I think they like burned out a little bit. And so I was even thinking, I'm like, why did you do it so close together like that? Like go at your pace that you're comfortable with, and all of that too. So you gotta learn to pace it of kind of what works. But I mean, they obviously had a very positive experience, but second time, I'm just kind of like, you just again just ease up. Like you said, don't be so hard on yourself. Just do it and enjoy the experience.
Yeah, just I've seen people burn out too quickly because it's too much of a thing. They get too stressed about the ahead of time kind of stuff. Clean out the fridge, put in a cooler, sleeping bags, tent, whatever. Go.
And just go. Don't overthink it. Yeah, I like it. We
I
have
mean,
some friends
you're
at
not
camp. Yeah,
backpacking.
you're
It's like you're
right.
not backpacking in the wilderness. You're still near a city.
That's
Like, I mean,
true.
you can still get something.
That's true. We have some friends at camp like almost every weekend in the summer. I mean, those that get into it, they really get into it and they love it. And so,
Yeah.
but again,
Mhm.
they've done it enough times. They've got a routine and they just roll with it.
Yeah, it's easier once you get to that point. Now that because we're definitely the every weekend campers. The only month we haven't camped is January. For some reason, January like always evades us somehow. We haven't gotten it together to be able to camp in January. But we have a little box by our door. Anything that goes out to the camper goes in that box. So I just take one trip out to the camper. We have laundry that just goes straight into the house, back out to the camper. So you just come, we have this little check off routine that the kids know what they need to grab and get and go. Just becomes a lot more.
Nice.
Everybody knows what they do. We've got camping cups. So we don't intermingle anything. This is camping stuff. This is house stuff. It gets easier as the more you do it.
I love it. I love it. Oh my gosh. Well, this has been so much fun, Stacy. I'm happy for you. Congratulations on your new business, and I hope that it just keeps catching on, and that you get more and more opportunities to grow it in Nebraska and even outside of Nebraska and all of that, and be homegrown right here. So congrats on the growth of it and how it's going.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me the time to share what we're doing and looking forward to maybe catching up with you here in the future and let you know we're putting more pins in the map.
Yes, absolutely. And I will bring we're going to try Lake Wanahoo. You've given me a targeted location to go, and
Mhm.
so I have no excuse now. And so I'm really going to try to make it happen. So if I ever see you, you can ask me, and just it's okay if you make me feel bad if I don't go. I'm going to try to make it happen so I can make you proud, Stacy. So
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with you and see if you're ready yet.
okay.
And April is about the time when you got to start really thinking about it. So I'll give
That's
you a little
true.
bit of time to get settled in, and then yeah, definitely gonna be following up with you. Make sure you follow through on that.
I love it. I'll do that. Okay. Thanks a lot, Stacy. Best of luck. Take care.
Thanks.
That was so fun visiting with Stacy. She's been recognized several times recently in the news for her up and coming business, including an article in the Silicon Prairie News about getting over $500,000 in seed money to get her business launched, and also earning the Innovation Business of the Year award by the Nebraska Business Development Center. Stacy's story is so inspiring and exciting. I'm just so impressed when somebody makes the big switch and goes for the dreams of starting a business. I wish her the best of luck, and I just gotta say, go get your camping on, everybody. This is How to Speak Nebraskan.